This segment is for all the men who have been divorced. What is one thing, or maybe a couple of different things, you would like women to know about men who've been through divorce? If that's you, you are in the right place on this segment of It's Scary to Remarry. Today, I have a returning guest, a returning guest, a returning guest. The people love him. The people's champ. My man Matt Walker. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, brother. How you feeling, man? How you doing? Looks like
Man.
things been going really well. Yeah,
You know,
I'm seeing you.
hey, that's what's up, man. God is faithful. And I want to give a quick shout out to all the Bravehearts community. Matt, you've been on this journey with me. We just
Yes, sir.
surpassed 5,000 YouTube subscribers.
Hey,
So that's what's
congratulations.
up. Yeah, thanks. It's been a long road, man. And you've been rocking with me for some years. So I want to
Sir.
give you your flowers as well and helping me in this process. So you're definitely appreciated.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Yeah. And so for this topic, you know, as a man going through a divorce, been divorced, both of us, right?
Right.
I asked this question on Instagram and the response was overwhelming. Like, what do the brothers who've been divorced want the ladies to know after we've been through a divorce? Like, what does that look like for us? And so I want to jump into this topic. What do you wish women understood about men after divorce?
Um, well, first I want to say, shout out to you and thank you again for having me on. Um, I think one of the biggest things that I would love women to understand is that divorce hits everybody involved very difficult. It makes it very difficult for all of us. I think when I was dating, it would be interesting sometimes some of the questions that women would ask because they would love the fact that I was divorced because being divorced means you actually took the step to get married, which means you may be interested in getting married again. So they
Mm,
love that part. But some women would minimize what the divorce was actually like because there's still like this archaic thought that divorce only affects one party, and that was pretty off-putting to me. I think in the beginning, because to me, it was one of the worst things I've ever experienced emotionally, and just the whole process itself.
yeah.
And although mine was fairly simple in terms of the paperwork and all of that aspect of it, it's
Mhm.
still an emotional. It's a very emotional process that you have to go through, and so I would definitely want women to never minimize what that experience may have been. You know what I
Mm,
mean, for a man,
mhm.
because we go through the hurt just like anybody else.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Glad you said that. Yeah, because we have struggles and stuff that we deal with too. I know a lot of times women have that support system around them, and
Hmm.
sometimes we don't. Shout out to everyone that's on TikTok right now. Hello to Cara. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask our guest. Matt has a wealth of knowledge and information in this relationship realm. I want to say too that I remember going through my divorce how I was by myself for a season. Like I didn't know who I could talk to. I mean, I talked to my mom, talked to my brother and stuff like that, but on the outside, like as far as friends, I really didn't have that community. My ex-wife did. And so the results were kind of different when it came down to who was doing better emotionally. Cause I know for me, I just had it bottled up,
Hmm.
but over time I've learned like, okay, when I was going through my divorce, silence was golden for me. Silence helped me out.
Yes.
Silence, prayer, reading, working, staying focused. So that was something that really helped me in that process of divorce. But it is
Yeah.
emotional.
It's very emotional, man. And yeah, depending on what your circle can look like, most of my friends were married. Some of the men that I did know that were divorced, like I had like one friend that was divorced, but most of the men that I knew that were divorced are from like different generations. And so, not to say it didn't affect them the same way, but how they went about it and even like talking things out wasn't necessarily their forte. And so it absolutely can feel very lonely. I was able to find some communities online, honestly, that were able to help me just to have other other men who understood what I was going through at that time and who could relate, because that part really, it helped me realize that I guess I wasn't alone and I wasn't crazy in some of my thoughts.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so you found communities online.
Hmm. On Facebook,
Nice.
honestly.
Really?
You
Shout
know,
out to
yeah,
Facebook.
shout out to Facebook. Yeah, one day I was just because I really, and so through also through social media, through Clubhouse, where you and I initially met like 5, 6, yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, I had also met other men on there who had either been through divorce recently or were currently going through it themselves. So over time, that community kind of built for me, and so I created my own little, group of brothers that I could talk to about things, and they were able to give me a lot of insight.
Yeah.
A lot of them were able to tell me, these are some of the steps that you're going to go through. At one point you're going to hate everybody. You're going to hate, your ex, hate what you're going through. And then you're going to feel sadness and regret and all of these things. And then you're going to come out of it. And it's going to be like, like you can come out a new person.
Yeah.
And so that was great. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so what was some of the criteria like what what did they have the guys, what did they have to meet in order for them in order for you to trust them?
Um, Typically they were men in my age range, right? I'm 44. So typically it was men who were, within a few years of me and who had been divorced recently. Most of the men I talked to, we had been married around the same amount of time. I was married for 10 years. So they were typically married in a similar, if not a little more time. And they just were able to relate to everything that I was saying. I'll never forget, I had one day that I was having a really bad day. And two of the guys that I had met, Mike and Chris, were able, I had called them on the phone and they just were able to really like kind of speak life into me in a way, you know what I mean? As I was just really dealing with the the feeling of what was actually happening and the gravity of it all. And so like things like that help you realize who you can trust. You know what I mean? When you can be and have those moments when you need to talk to somebody. So yeah, that was kind of like the criteria. Like, can I share things with you? We can keep it between each other. Are you
Mhm.
willing to share things back with me to let me see that we relate? Like that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, the power of social media, man. You just never know, you
that's
know.
so true.
Yeah, man. So, how did divorce change the way you see relationships?
It completely changed how I saw relationships, how I see relationships, and have been moving forward. I would say that the rose-colored glasses were taken off. You know, the fantasy I may have had in my head was definitely the veil was definitely taken off of my eyes, and I had to start living in reality of what was happening. It also helped me realize how important communication really is, and how important it is to be with somebody that you can communicate any of your feelings to, whether that's positive or things that aren't as favorable. I have to be able to communicate that with you. And if I can't, we don't need to be together. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I was dating out there, now granted, there were times where I was just dating for fun, right? Just to meet different women and just kind of be outside and just get back out there.
Yeah.
And I waited 16 months before I started dating anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I realized that I was ready to get back into a relationship, the criteria was very like if one of my biggest things was if you're going to mean it and do it. And so one of the ways I was able to really address that was as soon as a woman did something that I either didn't agree with, or she went against something that she originally told me was her thought process or whatnot, I cut it off. I kept my boundaries very strong. And what it did for me is it helped me respect myself as I was dating. And what I found was the women actually respected me more for for upholding my boundaries. So I would cut them off. I would get reached out to, how you been? Hey, how are things? I'm sorry. I know when I said such and such. One of the biggest things that they love to communicate, they love to problem solve together
Mhm.
when you do have conflict. And then you have, let's say, a misunderstanding with someone, and then they snap. And it's not necessarily always like a lot of the yelling and profanity, but at the same time, it's a tone of voice that is very demeaning and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I give somebody one time, you show me who you are,
Yep.
I'm backing it off. So I would say that was some of the main things that I had that have changed in terms of how I was dating.
Wow. That's powerful. Like you said, some women even respect you because you had certain boundaries in place.
Yeah.
And I had a guest on, and I'm guilty of this, right? I had a
Uh-huh.
guest on probably about a month ago, and he was saying when he used to date, he was dating from the lens of, okay, you fine, you don't, you're not a cheater, you're pretty cool, we can get along. I think you can fit inside of my vision, and
Yeah.
so let's just roll.
Oh, okay.
you know, because you okay, you fine and you got a little integrity about yourself. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
build how I
Yeah.
like, right?
Yeah.
But he was saying that there's so much more that he should have took the time to know. It's them small things like, yeah, you can have integrity, but is your communication good?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It just depends on what you rock with and what's really important. You can be sexy, but if you live in retail therapy,
Hmm. It's true.
you know,
It's true.
every time trauma hits you, you swiping. I mean,
That's something to keep in mind. That's a big deal. You know what I
right?
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I seen a post on Black millionaires today on Instagram, and they were saying like 42% of couples divorce, because of money
Yeah.
and credit card debt.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a huge piece of it.
right? And we don't really talk about that enough.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, we see somebody, they got a nice car, they got a nice job. We just assume that they're great managers of money.
Of course, you assume everything is going well, and
Yep.
then you learn that that's not necessarily the case. And that
Yeah.
happens with a lot of people, man. A lot of the divorced men that I've talked to, a lot of people, do the thing where you build your life off of two incomes because most
Of course.
households are dual income,
Of course.
and then people can overextend. So we know how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Man, okay, so I want to say because you recently remarried,
Yes, sir.
all right?
Ten
That's
twenty
what's up.
five 25 last Saturday.
Wow,
Yeah.
congratulations. Well, this
Thank
is
you.
this
Thank
is
you.
your first YouTube post, your
It
first
is.
recording post,
Yeah, it is.
remarriage. So
Yeah,
that's what's
man.
up. So that's yeah. Pew, 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 pew. I just thought.
Hmm.
So how did you know you were ready to remarry?
So when I was going through like all of my healing process and whatnot, and it's we already know healing is ongoing, right?
Of course.
But whenever I would think about, because like I said, I didn't date anybody for 16 months, and in 16
Hmm.
months, you have urges. Let's be
Yeah.
very clear.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
every time I would think about even getting on the phone and talking to a woman, I would get completely disinterested and disgusted because, and that's how I knew I was still bitter and upset and still
Hmm.
dealing with whatever was going on. I didn't even waste the woman's time. I didn't even, and I think what happened was when I stopped when I had gotten to a certain place in therapy where I
Hmm.
was able to own what I had done, taking that responsibility for the mistakes that I had made. And
Yes.
when I had gotten to a place of self healing, self work, rebuilt my self esteem, was getting my mental health together, like really putting so much effort to getting my mental health where it needed to be, as well as my physical health. That's when I knew, like, okay, I'm definitely ready to start dating again.
Hmm.
And how I knew I was ready to get married, I think I was dating this woman and I couldn't see myself dating her much longer.
Hmm.
And we had only been dating for like 3 months or something. And I was just like, I'm a marriage guy. I'm a
Hmm.
relationship guy. I've always
Hmm.
known this, right?
Okay.
Let me stop wasting everybody's time, including my own. Because that's
Hmm.
what I was realizing too. I was dating all these women, I was having a good time,
Hmm.
but I also when you're 40 something, it's different than when you're 20 something and you're dating, right?
Yeah.
Because I got with my ex-wife when I was 27. So from 27 to 40,
Wow.
I was doing right. So
Yeah.
coming out being a grown man now I'm like 43, 42, 43, coming out
Mhm,
here trying to date. And now I have kids, right? I have two daughters.
mhm,
It was cool to have some fun, but I was just like, I need to get on with my life. Like I need to my purpose is deeper than just being out here doing
mhm.
whatever, sleeping around and it was unfulfilling. I gotta be honest. Like, yeah, it was cool or whatever.
Yeah.
But dating when I was younger, when I was a kid, and you don't have as many responsibilities in life and you're free and whatever, it's
Mhm,
just so different from me being a grown man now with kids, with a
yeah.
career. I was like, I want to spend my life with somebody. I have a really good idea of where I want my life to go. Let me spend that energy really finding the woman that can be a part of that.
Mhm,
And so that's when I was like, okay. And I started dating with a genuine purpose to find a new wife.
mhm, mhm. So,
I had
so
to come to that on my own, though, of course.
yeah, and through trial and error, right? You
Yeah.
like you say, just you some things you just gotta take
Yeah,
one for the team, and yeah,
Yeah, you know. Yeah.
yeah. So, if you don't mind me asking, since this is an exclusive, what drew you to the missus? Like, did she just check all the boxes, or like what? Because I like hearing these stories.
Yeah. So funny enough, I met her on Clubhouse actually.
Yeah,
And
shout out the
what was
clubhouse.
right, for real. What was interesting is a year before we got together, I had been listening to her talk because she used to host spaces with her friends.
Mm,
And it sounded so idealistic. I just was like, yo, this girl is such a liar. There's no way that she actually believes any of this stuff. And this was a lot of the social media women were coming out with the soft girl, and you have to be extra feminine and all that
yeah,
crap.
yeah,
And
yeah.
not to say that all of it is not true,
Of course,
but a lot of it we know was for social media clickbait and stuff like that.
of
And
course.
so I really thought that the things that she was saying was an act. And I think the fact that I kept hearing her say the same things over and over, months after months after month. So like a year later almost, I was like, wow, I think she means this.
Wow.
I think she's serious.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her IG again. I'm like, she is kind of cute. And then I was just kind of so, I delicately slid in the DMs and was just like, hey, I would love to collaborate with you guys on some of your room topics and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to just come straight out and just
Of
be like,
course.
because I
Okay.
was like, she's a lady. I want to approach her, this is different.
Yeah.
Um, and from that little flirting that we did in April, and then I went for it in July, and August 3rd we started talking. She lived in Montreal at the time,
Oh
and
wow.
so yeah, so I'm down in the DMV. She was in Montreal. We dated long distance for a year, and she moved down here. So now she's in the DMV with me and with my stepson now,
Mhm.
and we've been living down here together for like 3 months, and it's been beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to the long distance relationships, because I met
Yeah.
my wife on IG.
Oh, you
Um,
did. You did
yeah,
say that. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. I
Yeah.
slid in the DM. Yeah, slid in the DM.
That's how it be. Your
Man,
husband's in the DM, lady. Stop playing.
hey, I wrote a whole ebook on how you date long distance. I'm like, look, this is how you do
Listen.
it, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. What do you think? And I didn't know you dated long distance, so I guess I'm kind of just a quick rabbit trail to
Hmm.
those who are. There's a little trepidation when it comes to dating long distance. They're just kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this, because I tell people sometimes your spouse might be in another state.
Yeah.
So, what would be your piece of advice for someone who's a little afraid of uh, wanting to date long distance? Because they're like, hey, I can't even trust Negroes in my state, let alone in
Right.
another way. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
and that was something. Of course, I'm somebody who I used to say I would never date long distance. I was one of those. I need my person nearby. I want to
Yeah.
be able to just go up and see you whenever. I actually, I am one of those people. I think I was in a relationship prior to this one that was long distance. She was in Florida, and I think that relationship prepared me for this from the standpoint of understanding what it's like to see somebody like every so often, or And so with this, what it really did is one, it forced us to really get to know each other
Yep.
because we didn't see each other for the first 2 months that we were talking. And so you have to stay engaged with that person, right? And I think what I noticed, because I was definitely like, hey, if you're talking to other people, you can just let me know,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But what I had to do was trust my discretion. And at that up to that point, she had been somebody who said what she meant and meant what she said. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had to give it up to God in that way. And she just didn't come off like that type of person.
Yeah.
And I was honest with her too.
Hmm.
And I was like, you're the only person that I'm dating right now. And
Hmm.
so I'm going to keep it that way because I really want to give this a shot.
Yeah.
And she could tell that I was serious, but she also said that she had to take a step out on faith because you never know. You know what I mean? And it was, I would say long distance is actually like one of the best modes to date somebody. Because
Yeah.
if it doesn't last after a few weeks or something, if the conversation can't even keep you engaged like that,
Hmm.
you don't need to see them.
Hmm.
You don't need to, even waste your time. And it really does force you to, because even if you're dating multiple people, if you're dating somebody long distance that you can't connect with regularly,
Hmm.
they're going to fall off.
Yep. I
If you're
agree.
not interested, they're going to fall off because it takes genuine effort
That's
to talk
true.
to somebody. And so I think that I swore against them for the longest time, and now I'm in full support. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday. He lives in Jersey. He was like, I don't think my wife is in New Jersey. I was like, I don't think she is either, brother. It's time to get out there. Stop playing,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
So yeah.
Oh man, that's what's up. I didn't know, man. Congratulations on that. Yeah, the long
Yeah,
distance,
man.
and especially with social media. I mean, here it is.
Yeah.
You met your wife on Clubhouse. I met my
Right.
wife on Instagram. You just never know. And I like what you said too about you both had to be intentional. You both had to prioritize each other because when you're
For
dating
sure.
long distance, all you really have is communication and trust and some faith.
Hmm.
That's
Right.
all you have. And of course, I've heard horror stories, but the beautiful thing about long distance is when there are two people that's committed, it makes the communication stronger. It makes the trust stronger because it's like, man, if we can do this across miles,
Hmm.
what are we gonna be like when we actually together?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And I was a little nervous about that too, but
Nervous
at the
about
same
what?
time, I was kind of like, I also kind of knew that when we did move in together, it was still going to work really well. Because,
Okay.
sometimes you'll hear people say they're not, when you actually live with the person or you're around each other more often, it's not always the same, you know? And for
Mhm.
us, thankfully, thank God, it's been amplified in a positive way. So, yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, and that's a topic within itself, right? Like, what does that look like? Okay, we've been dating long distance, because I know for my wife and I didn't relocate to Texas until we were married.
Okay.
You know,
Nice. Yeah.
for me personally, and people kind of look at me sideways when I say this, but I was like, I would rather us to be married and
Hmm.
be under the same roof than me relocate. It doesn't work out,
Hmm.
and now I'm in this different state and I gotta start over again after thinking that it was gonna work and it didn't, you know.
Hmm.
So I was like,
And that's
hey,
a difference with you too, right? Because that's something, because marriage is so important to you, being
mhm,
able to have the covenant first and
yes,
then move in, you're already coming in with a different mindset and a different
yes.
level of intention and just all of the things. So I completely understand that.
Boom. Exactly. Yes, yes. Thank you for understanding because
No problem.
people were dragging me through the mud. They was like, there's nowhere in the world that I'm gonna, and I was like, that was my faith. That was my faith
Hmm.
walk, right? That was my faith
Yeah.
that, we
Yeah.
both believers.
Right.
And so I'm like, hey, like you say, the covenant, we both value that.
Right.
And
Right.
so yeah, we going we're already dating long distance. We're already and actually when we married, it took another 6 months before I relocated. So we were married long distance.
Long distance too. Wow. Okay. You're taking it to the next level.
Man, yeah. So I
But it
mean,
worked out. Shout
it
out to
worked
y'all.
out.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you, man. It worked out. I mean, we just had 8 year anniversary
Anniversary, right?
yesterday. Yeah, the Monday. Yeah, and so eight
Happy
years, man.
anniversary, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
no problem.
So, what misconceptions do women have about divorced men? And what did that look like for you in that dating process? Like, what were the ladies saying,
Um,
or
mm,
were they more
well,
attracted to you because you've been divorced?
oh yeah, definitely more attractive for sure. But I mean, some of the misconceptions were that. So again, I said I'm in my early 40s, early to mid 40s, right? A lot of my compadres, a lot of other men in my demographic are who are out here. You know, they're still 20 something in their minds, right? They're still out
Mm,
here living their lives, doing their things. Because a lot of men didn't have that chance to date when they were younger. That's what some of them have shared with me. And
yeah.
then a lot of other men are just out here being bachelors and just doing what bachelors do, you
Mm,
know? And so those are some of the misconceptions, but I don't think that had to do with necessarily being divorced as much as it just had to do with kind of what's going on in dating right now with men in my age demographic.
mm,
Um, but like I said before, women were more attracted to me because I had been divorced, because I had been married.
mm,
Because with divorced men, you either have the man who's like at that stage where he's like, I'm never doing this again,
mm,
or a brother who's like, I'm open to it again for
mm,
whatever reason.
mm,
And they wanted to know how long I had been divorced, right? How long were we not together? Because one woman I dated, and it was not shortly after, but like when I just kind of got back out there, and she was like, "It's too early in your journey, trust me," because she had been divorced for years. She was
mm,
like, "I'm not trying to be like what that rebound is going to be for you." You know what I mean? And so I learned that too. I didn't know that there was a timetable. Like the timetable was really associated with that, but apparently, and I completely understand why. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
But so yeah, there was some of that was going on, but still, being having been married was more of a plus than a minus for sure.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, because some people they do. Well, and I want to ask you this too, since we're here. What do you think? I mean, to someone who been divorced and say they want to get back out here and dating, in your estimation and your experience, how long you think someone should wait before they decide to start dating again? Not even remarriage, but just dating.
I think it depends on what your process genuinely looks like. I think like I've known divorced men who started dating very quickly after, but
Hmm,
they didn't put in any work in getting themselves back together. You know what I mean? They did what a lot of us have done where they jumped quickly into something else to
hmm.
avoid dealing with what's actually happening.
Yep.
And then you have the people who on paper are divorced now, right? But they maybe weren't together for years and have been doing that kind of work on themselves. So typically I say like at least before you start dating anybody, personally, I think a year makes sense.
Yeah.
Most of the men that I've talked to who are divorced waited between like 9 to 16 months, give or take, before they put themselves back out there.
Hmm.
Just dealing with everything and depending on legally how it went, that
Yeah.
made a difference as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A year is pretty good. I mean, I think
Depends
it.
on how long you've been married too, I think. You know what I mean?
Oh, you think so? So you kind of believe in that? If you've been married for 10 years, you probably need to give yourself maybe 2 or 3 year break after, like,
Not necessarily a
okay,
2 or 3 year break. I wouldn't put that on everybody, but I
yeah,
would say like I know a dude who was married 16 years. He took a little more time than somebody who was only married like 6 years, 7 years. There's a difference. There's a different kind of life you've built.
yeah, yeah,
When you hit that 15 plus mark.
yeah, yeah, for sure, yeah. Because I hit about 15 with my ex-wife too, but we were separated. It was like over,
Right.
over. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
It was
But I
different.
mean, like, and I think too, it depends on how much work are you willing to put in. Because I don't think
Yeah.
just time heal all wounds. I think it's what you do with the time that heals all wounds.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
so if you're, because a lot of times we're like, do the work, do the work, do the work. But what does do the work mean? What does that look like? It might look different for
Look.
different people.
Yeah.
You
It
know.
definitely does, I think. For some of
Hmm.
my friends, doing the work meant getting themselves in better shape because a lot of
Right.
bros was out of shape. You know what I mean? For me, do the work was a lot of therapy, and
Yeah.
a lot of mental health, like working with mental health professionals to just make sure I knew what was going on with me completely,
Mhm.
as well as getting my just my life in order, really. You know what I mean? And just picking myself back up and allowing myself to actually feel the feelings that I was feeling and going through, acknowledging it, and not doing what a lot of people told me to, or they're like the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff that don't actually fix anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's crazy that people still
yeah,
use that in 20,
yeah.
so yeah, it's crazy.
Hmm.
But some people they do what they do, man,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
for sure.
People got to live their own lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what's your best piece of advice for divorced men re-entering the dating world?
Depending on how long you've been out,
Mm.
you know, dating hasn't changed as much as we may have thought. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, no, women pretty much
Are the
aren't
same
that
too?
different. Yeah. When you get
Oh,
past like there's the social media aspect of things, right? That's completely revolutionized things. Like
that's true.
when I was still dating, I got out the game in '08. We wasn't doing all the online stuff like that at all.
Hmm.
In terms of like dating apps and all of that.
Yes.
So but once you get past all that screening stuff and you actually get face to face with somebody
Yeah.
or on the phone with them,
Yeah.
women are pretty much the same. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I would say now they just want to, like, common questions that I got was, do I have custody of my children? If so, how often? Because women respect a man that has custody, but not somebody who has full custody that has no ability to kind of move around, right? Because depending on what their custody is
Mm.
like, they still want some freedom, especially women without kids. Dating
Wow.
women without kids, and my custody agreement is 1 week on, 1 week off. We have 50-50 shared, right?
Okay.
And so a lot of women who didn't have kids were like, okay, yeah, I can date you because you do have time away from them outside of just being a stepmom. And I was like, okay, this is something new. I didn't know that that was a thing. And then even women with kids who didn't have the same kind of custody setup wanted me to have free time as well, so that we it would be easier for us to be able to do whatever. And so if you have kids, definitely be prepared to have some of those conversations. It gets a little interesting. And they want to make sure that you're more responsible, that depending on like, and they want to know where you are like in your journey right now. Like, are you still playing around, are you not?
Mm,
I was very honest off the rip, so when I wasn't looking for anything serious, I made it be known because I'm too old to be lying out here to anybody.
yeah, right. Yeah.
If at 40 something I can't keep it real with you now, then what are we doing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah. And yeah, I would just tell brothers, like, just hit the streets, do what you do, try all different avenues. I did avenues. I've tried every dating app ever.
Yeah.
I had the best luck with certain ones, so those are the ones I stuck with. Um,
You want to
and
you want to say any of those apps, or you
oh yeah,
choose?
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know what you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about.
No, you're
Oh, okay,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hinge
Go.
and Bumble for me were the best. Hinge and Bumble, like I
Mhm.
got the most. Bumble was great because the women approached you essentially,
Mhm.
and so that was that was helpful if you get approached. You know what I mean? And I had several matches off of there, so that was cool. And then Hinge was just the women were more refined. I'll say refined, and were
Say, how do you define? Can you give us your definition of that?
okay. Sure. The best way I can actually define it is comparing it to like Facebook dating was like the trenches, was like the hood. Okay,
Okay.
Facebook dating was the struggle. Um, but Hinge was like, okay, these women have careers.
Mm.
They can put sentences together. Like it was just more quality that I found that was on there versus like some of the other sites that was out there.
Oh, wow. So you said Hinge and Bumble was the best.
For me,
Yeah,
were
and your
definitely the best ones. But nowadays, like, there's so many options. My one boy went on Kendra G's show on
mm,
Instagram Live.
mm,
No, I've actually had two friends go on there. They've gotten dates off of there, and
Wow.
she has her own app now. Like there's just so many different ways, but I do think that like being able to any kind of the thing about nowadays is that is different from back in the day, and I don't know if it's because we're older now and less
Mm,
naive,
yeah.
but it's a little harder to trust people's motives today because
Yes.
a lot of people have a checklist. Like a lot of women just have like a checklist, so you can insert husband here type thing, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter anything about you, but
Wow.
then it's like boom. And I met a few of those, man. The women
Wow.
who like had never been married, especially, and really needed to like get it like by a
Wow.
certain age and point in their lives because they did have the career and all of that together. So definitely be careful for that, and be careful for the women who will try to pressure you into marriage because that's also a very real thing. And for some of us who have been married who are open to it again, you can get caught up in that in a minute because your
Mm.
husbandry starts to come back up, and it's like wait,
Yeah.
and you start showing up because even the first few women I was dating, I was showing up a little too
Too,
husband like.
too husbandish. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was my last experience. And I even told a friend of mine because he was doing the same thing when he was dating this woman. And I was like, dog, this is the first date. You're doing too much. You
Yeah.
used to being a husband. I get it. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Gotta, scale it back just a little bit,
Yeah.
And so I think that anything that you can do to get to know the woman and, just really get to understand her point of view. And again, just believe people.
Mm.
If somebody does something that you genuinely do not like off rip,
Yeah.
say something, walk away, whatever, but just don't ignore it and just say, "Oh, this will go away." That's the mistake most of us made the first time around. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that again.
Yeah. That's real. I've been
Yeah,
there. Yeah. Yeah, for
exactly.
sure. Man, man, how time flies when you're having fun. I have another interview after this, but I do have to ask you this real quick
Yeah.
though, because man, this is a episode. What are some of the things that you said about with some women that's rushing into marriage? What are those what does the rush tactics look like when they're trying to get married? Like, how do you know when your ticker went off and was like, she's trying to get me husband up?
hmm Um, So how I look at things is as the man, I set the table for the whole dating stage, right? And
Okay.
then you as the woman get to decide if you like what I'm talking about. So if I'm
Mm,
talking to you about marriage in the beginning and this is what I'm looking for, you get to decide how that works for you. I think one of the ways that women can try to almost guilt you into it is I was getting consistent reminders about the marriage thing, which I'm the one that brought it up in the first place. I don't need to be reminded about it. I'm the one that brought it up. You know what I'm
mm,
saying?
mm,
Um, Reminding you that, hey, if I have to pick up and move my life, things have to be in order. And it's like, these are things I've already discussed with you in terms of how it could look. So I
mm,
already know that. I got you. You know, hey, it's been a few months now that we've been together and it's official, right? We're officially together, so there's no questions about it. But you're asking me things about like the wedding. How did we get here? Wait a minute.
mm,
Hold on.
mm.
And they almost try to take the reins from you. And I'm one of the guys who's like, don't take the reins. I got it.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yes.
because this is also like I also typically date women who say that they want a man who's going to take the lead and take control, right? And that's also how I was able to learn that some women, that's what they say that they want, but it's not what they actually want,
Mm,
right? They want to be in control of this. They just want a man who's willing to kind of stand by and allow that to happen. And so
mm,
those are the women that I be telling brothers be careful for. Like if she's starting to try to, take control and say this is what's going to happen and this has to happen and it has to move like this and that. Whoa, 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 whoa. Are you about to ask? Are you proposing to me? Or, I mean, and that's a real thing. And
yeah.
if you feel like you have to do that with the man, then that's probably not the man that you should be trying to marry. That you feel like you have to constantly bring this stuff up. And then you find out that a lot of women actually haven't dated intentional men. So they don't actually know what that looks like. And that's not their fault. I don't blame women, for that,
Right.
at the end of the day, but it didn't work for me.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And I mean what I say and I say what I mean. And so that was a very, very big realization. Like when you talk to women about their dating history, especially women in their 30s and 40s, because I
Yeah,
dated women in their 30s and 40s.
yeah.
Man, so many women have not dated a man with a plan who's intentional about them and is just setting the table. This is what our life would look like. And so
Mm,
they feel like they have to take control. And
mm.
that's why a lot of them do it. So I don't necessarily fault them. It's not my ministry.
Got you. No, for
Yeah.
sure. Because I know, and no shade to my sisters, please don't come for me
No,
in the comment
not at
section.
all.
Yeah, because a lot of times sisters be like, I want a man that's gonna take lead and stuff like that. But I'm like, are you sure?
You
Because
sure that's what you want?
yeah, because when he cut that budget, you know what I'm saying? Or when he
Hmm.
like, we gonna fast this month, we gonna fast this week, you know.
Right.
Oh,
I'm with you.
yeah, or we gonna be reading more together. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. All of a sudden, it's like I don't know. He was controlling.
He's
Now
controlling.
he's controlling.
Who are you to tell me that we can't, and it becomes that. And I get why it would be perceived that way if you've never experienced it before, right? But in reality, no, it's just me making sure that the space that I've created for us, for our family, the protection that you say that you want. And this is the other thing. A lot of sisters, not
Yeah,
everybody, but a lot want the protection while they do whatever they want to do. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And that is definitely one of the points where we come where we're at a head, because brothers I know are like, there's no way you can't do whatever you feel like doing whenever you want to do it, and then you still want my protection. It doesn't,
yeah,
you do have to operate in a framework.
of
And
course.
so, yeah, man, it's
Yeah,
that tug of war.
yeah, yeah. Because it's
Hmm.
like you got the umbrella, Ella, you trying to
Hey,
move the umbrella, right? You
I'm
trying to
trying.
keep her under. You like, where you going? I'm trying to keep you under the umbrella, and she's all over the place, and you just like,
I can't do my job. I can't do what I'm supposed to do and what I want to do for you if it's not moving like that together. And when you're younger, I think that's something that you kind of learn as you grow together. It
yeah,
can be, but
mm-hmm.
when you come in at this stage in the game, you already have to have kind of an understanding. And thankfully, my wife, now, she was also married in the past, right? So she was married once. We were both married for 10 years.
Wow.
And she had a very thorough understanding of being able to operate in that. And that has a lot to do with how she was raised, too. And her
Mm,
father making sure that she understood what it is to be a wife and all those things. So it's a different dynamic, but it's a wonderful thing, man.
yeah, man, for sure, man. And now that's how you end the show. Because I'm
Hmm.
thinking you probably have to come back again, man, to discuss leadership, or is it controlling, or is it leadership? What are you looking for? You want some
Hmm.
leadership? You want some protection, or is he controlling?
Hmm.
You got to know the difference. But that's another topic
Hmm.
for another time.
It is, man.
I already just told you was coming back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I
Yeah,
want to make sure I give you your proper your credit, man, because when we first met on the app, I was going through the tough times. You know what
mhm,
I'm saying? And
mhm.
from the first time we spoke, and you had been married, I think around 3 or 4 years at that time,
Yeah, yeah.
and you were talking about your journey. You are one of the brothers who gave me hope, like
Wow.
genuinely, even when I was going through it and I was bitter and I was angry and I didn't want to even consider it, that
Yeah.
tiny piece of reason in the back of my head that was like, maybe one day I would
Wow.
think about some of the things that you said and that you used to talk about when you would host those rooms and those spaces. And
Yeah.
then I would just look at your content, because when I separated from my ex, I
Mhm,
removed every relationship page,
mhm,
person,
mhm,
everybody, all of it.
mhm.
I didn't want to see a happy relationship in front of me on
Wow.
any of my social media, but I kept you. I kept yours on there. I don't know why, but I was like, Sean's cool. I'm gonna keep Sean on there. And just being able to
Don't,
hear
don't,
your
don't.
testimony, you stupid. Hearing your testimony over the years, seeing you with your wife, man, it was just like, yeah, I know one day when I'm ready, like I'll be able to do this and I can talk to Sean about it. And here we are, man. So shout out to you, genuinely. I appreciate the work that you're doing, it actually is working, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You a
it's
real one,
working.
man. Yeah, man. You made my
Absolutely.
night with that, man.
I'm glad, bro. Yeah, that's a real talk.
Hey, I'm honored, man. Thank you, man. And
Salute.
and I'm just living my life, just trying to be a hope dealer. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's
And
definitely working, bro.
man, that's what's up. And that's how you end the show, man. Let everyone know how to. Well, I will say real quick before I let you go. I was
Yeah.
hosting a room on Fanbase.
Okay.
Um, I was doing a video, a watch party, and I had me and your interview on
Okay.
there. And there's a lady. I don't know if you know. I ain't gonna say her name, but shout out to her. She was like, "Is that King Midas?" She was like, "Oh, he used to be on Clubhouse." I was like, "You know King Midas?" She was like, "Yeah, he used to always." I was like, "Oh, that's what's up." So she was like, "I
Yeah.
didn't know you had him on the show." I said, "Yeah, this is the second time around." So she was like tripping out, like, "Wow, like small
Wow,
world, you
that's
know?"
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
definitely a small world. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man. So let everyone know how they can get in touch with you. I'll have everything linked in the
Mhm.
description.
Definitely. Yeah, you can definitely look me up on Instagram. That's the main page that I have right now, King Midas CH. And my new podcast is going to be coming out in a few weeks. The one I sent you about, Married Divorced Dads. So we'll definitely be able to have you come on there and share that expertise with us. And yeah, man, I got a few things in the pipeline. So I'm just excited. So yeah, just follow me on there and we'll go from there.
Wow, that's what's up. Now that's how you end the episode. Bravehearts community, you heard it here. Make sure you go connect with Matt. As you can see, he got bars on bars when it comes to this marriage and relationship stuff, man. I just love solid brothers, man. So thank you
It's a
for
fact.
always being that example. Through your
Absolutely, bro.
transparency and even being able to find love again and remarry. So
Yeah, man.
there is, I love that
Hmm.
brothers taking the leap of faith to
Yeah,
remarry. And so,
absolutely.
as you can hear the testimony, Bravehearts community, make sure if you are your first time watching, make sure you hit the like button. Give us these likes. We need them likes to
Come
get
on.
up a little bit. Run them up. If you are watching this, put this in your group chat, share it with your friends, and then that way it's like four of y'all in the group chat. That's four views, and that's like a whole bunch of watch hours. So yeah, help your boy with your watch hours as well. If you're listening via podcast, make sure you leave a rating and review by doing so on Apple Podcasts. It'll put you in a drawing for a free Amazon gift card. Who doesn't like free stuff? This is Sean Heineman with my special guest,
King Midas.
King Midas, and
Yes,
we
sir.
are out. Matt, don't hang up yet.